So have you ever noticed how markets act like they're trying to send a message? The only problem is the message is in Morse code that you never learned. Well, today kind of feels like one of those days. The dollar's backtracking, risk assets are warming up, and commodities are moving like they just had a double espresso. So let's unpack the important bits because there is a lot going on behind the price moves today. So before you place your next trade, watch this. Morning, everyone. I'm Francois, your market analyst here at ATFX Africa, and welcome to your daily market brief, where each morning I unpack the biggest movers across currencies, commodities, indices, cryptocurrencies, and, blend some fundamentals and technicals and, just the right amount of common sense because, let's face it, markets don't always make sense. As always, please let me know where you are joining me from this morning. Which province, which city, which country. Let me know where you are jumping onto this session from today. So I want to kick things off today with cryptocurrencies. Sorry, not cryptocurrencies, currencies. I've got cryptocurrencies on the brain because I'm attending a crypto expo next week Friday, so I'm actually really excited about that. So I'm going to Crypto Fest, and yeah, now that's just been on my brain the entire time, and obviously I'm preparing for Crypto Fest and so forth. So I think even on autopilot at the moment, I'm just like cryptocurrency. So yeah, but yeah, if you guys want to join on that as well, Crypto Fest next week Friday, Cape Town. It's gonna be at the V&A waterfront. So yeah, if you're interested in attending, please ensure to get your tickets for that. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, currencies. Okay, and I want to start locally today. So focusing on USDZAR because, the Rand has been doing a little dance of its own lately. So the US dollar index slipped back down to around 100, easing from its recent 5-month highs. And, the reason behind this is the mood in global markets improved, pushing investors out of safe havens, but... And there's always a but. We have to remember that. There's always a but. Strong US data is still giving the US dollar some backbone. Yesterday we had the ADP employment change report, which surprised to the upside. It came in a lot higher than expected. Services PMI also hit an 8-month high, and the Federal Reserve continues to avoid commenting on deeper rate cuts. Now, on the South African side, PMI data dropped to 50, showing the private sector contracted. And the crazy part is this was the first time in 7 months. Additionally, inflation expectations remained in focus. The South African Reserve Bank is still aiming towards the lower end of that 3 to 6% range. And with inflation still ticking slightly higher in South Africa, the South African Reserve Bank is not expected to cut rates at its next meeting. So, yeah, definitely a lot going on this currency pair. A lot of data that we've received, and this is great, especially because we've had a very big lack of data lately. And this is assisting us in making some positive decisions. Okay, when we do look at the charts at the moment, USDZAR is sitting around 1736 at the moment, showing a slight firming of the Rand, which was helped along by, stable dollar conditions and firmer gold. in my opinion, think of USDZAR like a spring. You know, compressed after hitting that 1 month high recently. I mean, the ZAR really strengthened quite a lot. So it's kind of like that spring that's been compressed now at that low point. And as we are seeing a pullback to the mid 1730s, which is suggesting short-term relief, the broader trend still requires the rand to prove itself. If we start seeing weakness return in risk sentiment, that compression of that spring I just spoke about could unwind really quickly. So the key question here for me today to all of you is, what's your thought process on this? Is this a meaningful rand recovery? Are we just seeing a little bit of a pullback on the rand and we'll see more strength coming into this market as well? Because I mean, there's been a large amount of consolidation here at this point in stage. So, or is this just a breather and we're going to start seeing some trend reversals on here? I mean, if we have a look here, we've been trading in this downward channel here for quite some time, but we are on the top of this channel now, and are we seeing correction here? What do you guys think? Is this going to push us down to 17, maybe even 1680? The bottom of the channel will be here around 1650 to the dollar. Those are levels we haven't seen in years. I mean, the last time we got to 1650 was in 2022. So a lot of consolidation here on this, just above the 17 rand to the dollar level. So do you believe there's a potential for us to break this? Yes or no? And while you answer that, I'm going to start looking at some lower time frames so that we can have a look at some intraday opportunities within the market at the moment. Now, I do see I have a question that asked, what about NFP? Now, Mr. DC, unfortunately, the way things stand right now, due to the government shutdown, there is no NFP release tomorrow. So US government shutdown is now sitting on day 37, which is the longest US shutdown in history. It's never lasted this long. So yeah, definitely putting some pressure on markets, but unfortunately no NFP tomorrow. Okay. I do see obviously Rocast answered as well. I do have another comment here that says USDZAR might hit 16 before going up. Personally, and this is just from my perspective, personally I feel 16 is a bit enthusiastic. I think 1650 is a solid probability. I think 1650 could be a good launch pad for some longer term buys if you want to do some swing trading or so forth. But 16 is on the low end. Like 16 is an early 2022 figure. That's a level we haven't seen in 3 years. That's going to be a tough one. And there's quite a lot of liquidity zones that we'll have to break through before getting to that. And I mean, look at this cluster here just above 1650. There's definitely, like I said, I think 1650 is on the cards. I think that's a great possibility. Personally, I just feel like 16 could be a very enthusiastic trade. Now, that being said, we are currently, so 15 minutes, there's this downward trend here at the moment. So if we drop this down to about a 5-minute time frame, we can see this little bit of consolidation here. So a nice little intraday setup for me on this is if we can get a break, and this should happen maybe later during the US session, if we can get a break below 1735. That would confirm that break of structure here. And then you could maybe have a look at a short position, stop loss maybe just above that EMA at around 1739 with a 1 to 1:1.5 risk to reward ratio, pushing down to these lower levels here around 1728. That might actually be a very nice intraday setup. Trading with the trend, so not trading against it, so trading with momentum on this one as it stands, but again, still waiting for price action. And once price action confirms, that could be a nice setup on USDZAR for today. Okay. Moving over to commodities. And as you all know, usually on a Thursday, commodity that I like looking at is natural gas. Now, this one is, again, very interesting because, and for those of you who attended last week's session, I shared my analysis with you all, which played out to a T from what we discussed last week Thursday. Because last week Thursday, we also discussed natural gas, and it literally did exactly what we expected. Now, in the last 7 days, we saw that, well, natural gas has been putting on a show, okay? The kind where you're not sure if you should clap or flinch. But, prices recently rallied to an 8-month high, which is driven by a few things, okay? Number one on the list was strong liquid natural gas exports, especially to Europe and Asia. Then also, colder winter demand is starting to kick in the Northern Hemisphere, as well as storage levels increasing, but not enough to mute demand expectations. Okay. That being said, the last session, so yesterday we saw a bit of a pullback. We did see some upward momentum again today, but yesterday we saw a bit of a pullback as milder weather forecast took some of the heat, if I can put it in such a way, full on pun intended, of near-term consumption expectations. Production is also edging higher, and the market has noticed. Now, when we look at the charts on this one at the moment, traders are watching that $3.60 support level at this specific point in stage, which is an area that we can all watch kind of, as a season finale of a crime drama. I think once we get to that point, it would be a very nice buying the dip level again. So last week, we obviously had the discussion. When we had the discussion last week, we were right here on this support level here. And I basically stated to all of you that if we get a nice rejection, which we did, and we get a nice little break higher, which we did, and we see a break of structure, which we did, we could get, even if you day traded this, not even that high, just up to the support here. If you waited for, and I'm on a very high time frame now, I can go to a lower time frame even. So there's the full on. So if we have a look here, there was the range that we traded in. There's your break. 2 hours later, you got your retest, so that liquidity grab. So your entry could have been around here, stops just below those low points. And even if you just aim for that support level, which was around $3.60, that was a 1 to 2.2 risk to reward ratio on that. So definitely a very, very nice setup that even on a day trade perspective, had a big payout on this one. So that being said, though, that's last week's news. So now we need to look at what is the potential for this week. Okay. So yes, we're obviously watching that $3.60. Personally, I feel like that's a great buy the dip opportunity. And in my opinion, anything above $3.60 is a really good place for bulls to remain in play. As if we can get a good test there is a chance for that, bulls might try and reattempt that $3.90, maybe even $4 zone. So, I mean, if we zoom in a little bit here, you guys can see there's this previous, let me draw this across, previous high point from June this year, which is just shy of $4. Or just above $4. Let me put it that way. Just above $4. So definitely some potential there. So, and again, maybe even if we can get a break here with the small little retest, that could also lead to that $4 level. But ideally, I would want, in my opinion, I would want to drop to $3.60 before jumping into this specific market. Now, again, the $3.60 level is significant for two reasons. Because of the fact that if we break below that level, momentum may unwind to go and retest the support maybe here at $3.35, or who knows, all the way back down to $3.10. So again, as always, please ensure that once we get to certain levels, check your price action, have a look at what the market is doing, and don't, as I stated last night during the masterclass as well, don't just trade based on a bias. Don't just trade because this is what the market should be doing. Trade what the market is doing. Okay. So, big picture here, demand remains fundamentally strong, but short-term swings are currently weather-driven for natural gas and highly reactive. Okay. So, we'll definitely have to wait and see if we can get that pullback and a retest, or maybe we get a pullback and, something deeper. So, yeah, looking on a lower time frame, so I'm dropping down here to a 15-minute. Currently trading within a relatively tight range, which makes it quite difficult to get some shorter positions or short-term positions on this. But it has relatively formed a sideways market since yesterday, kind of between these 2 points here. So if you do have a look, that general range there. So what we can always do is, for me, from a short-term perspective, I'll have a look. If we break out of the range, wait for a retest, break of structure, and then we can look for those higher levels here at $4. If we get to the top of the range and you can get a nice rejection and then a change of character, break of structure again, getting some shorter term trades back to the bottom of this range. And then if we break to below the bottom and then break that $3.60 support, you can look for short positions. Or if it gets to this bottom, you can get a nice rejection, again, change of character, break of structure, and then look for that higher move back to the top of that channel. And, well, see how long this sideways movement is willing to last. And, again, trade what is in front of you. So as long as the sideways market is there, we'll trade the sideways market. Once it breaks, wait for the retest, wait for the break of structure, and then go again. So, again, trading exactly what is in front of us. Traders, let me know. Any questions thus far? Any comments from your side? Anything you want me to look at? Let me know. Please remember to hit that like button. And if you are unable to comment, please remember to click the subscribe button, which will allow you to subscribe, which will then allow you to comment as well. Okay, let's move across to equities, where sentiment looks a little bit steadier, I must say. And I just want to get the chart ready here as well. So yesterday we saw buyers step back in after recent valuation concerns in tech, which saw, positive drivers. These positive drivers included the strong private payroll data that we saw, optimism surrounding the US Supreme Court tariff hearing, corporate earnings that continue to show pockets of strength. And what happened when that happened? We saw the S&P jumped up 0.37%. NASDAQ did even better thanks to rebounds in semiconductor and AI adjacent stocks. Snap and Arm popped up after earnings as well. However, we saw companies like SMCI took a notable hit on a weak outlook, which kind of just reminded us all that momentum in AI stocks isn't a straight line. Okay. Now, looking at the charts, the S&P is currently trading around 6,800 points, which is not far off its record highs. Now, this index is currently grinding higher little bit by little bit. Think of it like walking up a hill that looks flat until you realize you're out of breath. Okay? That kind of looks what this index is currently doing. Momentum is still constructive, but stretched. Okay, valuation means reaction to earnings and policy news could get sharper. So the next meaningful direction on the specific index could come from one of the following things: government shutdown resolution, whenever that may be. Okay, I've given up trying to predict when that will be. Current predictions is the government shutdown will last 47 days. Today is day 37, so that means we've got 10 days left. Again, I don't know if that would be the case, but all we can do right now is wait and see. Now, the second thing that can also give some directional cues is the Fed's tone on December rate cut expectations. And then number 3, AI earning guidance over the next cycle. Now, for me personally, the big question here is, are buyers returning with conviction or convenience? Okay. So are we getting buyers who are coming in with conviction, or are we just getting a couple of buyers buying the dip and taking some profits and then getting tapped out again? Something to consider on this one. Okay. If we do have a look at lower time frames, definitely got a nice bounce. So this line here, that's the 38% Fibonacci retracement level on the larger 1 hour, 4 hour time frame. So a potential break of structure is pending here at basically 6,800. I think we can round it off to about 6,800. So a little bit of a break there. So let's see if we jump to a 1 minute time frame. I was actually waiting for this setup. I missed it now because here I was preparing for the live, and obviously this is more or less where we started. So missed that jump, but it happens. It happens. But I was literally sitting eyeing this the entire morning because I saw this consolidation. I was waiting for that change of character. And all of this happened in that 15 minutes prior to me starting the session. So it's okay. Would have been quite a nice setup though, Break of structure there, stops there. Even if you went 1:1, 1:1.5, you could have even gone 1:2. It was a beautiful little setup. And if you were just using a trailing stop, you would have been in this all the way still, because there's been no solid reversal with a change of character yet. So, but now let's look on a larger perspective. There's been a change of character here now as well. So if we even go on a 5-minute time frame, here you can see that same change of character here at the bottom. So all we need now is a little bit of a retest, bounce higher, break of structure, which can then give us a nice larger buy on this specific trade as well. So there is definitely a lot of options for us on this one at the moment. We just need to be patient. That is such a nice setup I missed. Sad here where I'm sitting now. Anyways, traders, we've been going for about 30 minutes. Any questions on your end? I know you all love gold as well, so we can have a look there as well. This one at the moment, yeah, on the lower time frames, relative amount of consolidation. So I would, if you're looking for long positions, I would wait for a break above this 4016 level. That could be a nice little break, retest, and then buying all the way into the highs again. So that could be a nice option there. Alternatively, a break below 4003. So a break below 4003 would be that low end. And then again, if you can get a little bit of retest, break of structure, you can then aim potentially even for these levels down here at 3,982. But at the moment, currently stuck within that consolidation range. So let's just see what happens on that end. Okay. Cool. I'm going to take everyone's silence as there's no questions. Not always a bad thing. Not always a bad thing. So, yeah, markets have been really interesting this week. There has been some great opportunities. I know there's quite a few that I have definitely capitalized on. So, yes, even though I missed the one that, we just saw, but definitely capitalized on a few other ones during the week. So, I'm still up quite nicely for the week, and it's been a very nice week so far. So, yeah. How's your trading been going? Let me know. Oh, well, we've got someone new on the call today asking about ORD CHF. I'm long at the moment. Okay, cool. Let's go have a look. ORD CHF. Just give me a second to pull that up. AUD CHF. Okay. Happy vibes. Just let me know. Where did you enter the long position? Okay, so here's AUD CHF. So just let me know what's the price you got in on this one. So yeah, just let me know where you got in. We can definitely see there is quite a bit of liquidity sitting just above where we are now. So if we have a look in that general area there, there's quite a large liquidity zone there. Today I have a million questions. Market buyers, bring it on. Let me know. Send me those questions. Start typing them out. I'll answer them one by one. Okay. And then we also have some general liquidity in this area here. Okay. So dropping down to some low areas, there is again an amount of consolidation here, but we can see clearly the trend is nicely bullish. I mean, 30-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, 15-minute, everything is above the EMA and so forth. So definitely nice, clear, bullish momentum here at the moment. We also, if you pull in this trend line here, you know, you had that 1, 2, we just bounced on that third touch. That's normally a good bullish indicator as well. We had this equal high that if we break that, that'll be a nice clean break of structure, which ultimately at that specific point could push the market, I would say, at least another 200 points, so about 20 pips, to that next liquidity zone. From there, I believe there could be some larger moves coming into the market, and there you'll have to have a look. You know, do we break higher, or is that a good place to start taking profit? These are all options. Okay. Bought at 0.52258. 0.22. 22 is down here. Oh, wow. That was a beautiful entry because 2258, yeah, that's down here. Well done from my end. That was a very nice entry. That means you've obviously been holding this position since Wednesday, which is yesterday, so it's not that long. But yeah, beautiful entry. Well done. Personally, I would monitor 0.526 as a pivot point, because if markets push down and then push below 0.526, that could be a turning point for the market to go further back down. So if you are trading with a trailing stop on this, that's kind of where I would, you know, take my profits, look for a new position. But yeah, from my side, super nice entry. I can clearly see why you took it. I mean, we bounced so nicely on this liquidity zone, popped higher. Even on lower time frames, you'll probably see, yep, there, beautiful little change of character there on a 5-minute. 1 minute will even probably look better. Market is currently still trending on this. And yeah, if we break above this 0.5274 level, that could be a nice clearance for another leg higher. So I think for now, your position, in my opinion, looks really good. Always remember, I don't provide financial advice during these sessions. It's just my opinion. It's information that I'm sharing. So, but yeah, in my opinion, from what I can see at the moment, based on price action, your position looks good. Obviously, just bear in mind those levels that I discussed as potential turning points or pivot points within the market. Okay. Wisdom. What can we expect from the Bank of England today? So, based on commentary that they have released up until this point, there is a relatively large chance that they won't be cutting rates. Today. So yeah, just have to kind of bear with that at this point in stage. So, but at this point, it doesn't look like they will be cutting, just based on some of the commentary. Now, yes, last time there was some officials that did lean a little bit more to the side that says, you know, they want to be a bit more dovish, etc. But I mean, even if we have a look here at the economic calendar, so even if we have a look here at the moment, expectation is flat. So there, 2 o'clock, expectation is for it to remain at 4%. And I mean, they've been keeping this steady now for the last two decisions. August, it stayed at 4%. September, it stayed at 4%. Based on all data that we have received, we should stay at a nice 4% again. And I mean, even prior to that, the last cut was in June. And again, they don't often cut. So, but if you do trade trends, there has been a relatively consistent trend as well, where they've had it consistent for 2, then they cut. Then it's consistent for 2, then they cut. Then it's consistent for 2. So it's been consistent for 2. So if you want to bet on some odds, there's a chance there, but there's no data to back that up at this point in stage. Like I said, that's just the technical trader in me noticing trends. So yeah, just something to have a look at. But yeah, based on current data, no real potential there today for any fireworks. Just keeping it flat. Okay. Let me see what else is there. Would you be able to explain the MSBOB indicator on TradingView? Gives me a good order block for a buy and sell, but what about those MSB lines I see? Okay. Personally, not an indicator that I have used in the past. But you know what? Let me actually quickly have a look here. I'll add it to my list of favorites and I'll go and play around with it. And I'll come back for you with an answer. So let me just see here. MSB-OB. There's a few that pops up as options. Can you tell me who the indicator is that you specifically use? Because I get a few options here. I'll even show you the options. So maybe you can tell me, is it 1, 2, or 3? So those are the options that pop up if I type in MSB-OB the way you have it there. So just tell me, is it number 1, 2, or 3? And like I said, then I'll go have a look for you and I'll come back with feedback on that indicator. Okay. Just want to see if I can sort out my camera here quickly. Doesn't look like it's focusing nicely. Yeah, there we go. That looks like the focus is better. Let me just see here. No, it looks fine. Okay. Let me see if there's any other comments. Okay, obviously already, and I got that one as well. Perfect. Okay. First elephant in the room. Are we having NFP this week? Well, you're a little bit late, my friend. We discussed that a little bit earlier, but the answer to that is no. Okay. US government shutdown is still continuing. So meaning that, yeah, no NFP tomorrow. Okay. We're currently on day 37. And we have no end in sight at this specific point in stage. So, yeah. Well, remember, if you watched my session last night about the Santa Bull Run, I did state that normally the first week in December is where markets show structure. So if you did miss my session last night, maybe go watch that, which specifically focused on seasonality and then the Santa Claus rally as well, explaining exactly how we can go about trading that specific event. And yeah, by December we should have, an NFP. And traditionally the Santa rally only starts around somewhere between the 12th and the 15th of December. So by that time we should have NFP results, because I highly doubt that the government shutdown will prolong more than 60 days. That would be unprecedented. I really don't think that'll be an option. Okay. Happy Vibe says, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure. Okay, then, has the Bank of Japan started its interference? Just asking because their prime minister is a dove, but the currency is at interference level territory. So no, there's been a lot of talks surrounding intervention, but there has been no intervention as yet. Even if you look at the price action, that's not intervention. That's normal daily moves. But the Prime Minister has stated, and I actually mentioned this in the market brief on Tuesday, where even in the email and the article and the live, spoke about that quite extensively. But the Prime Minister is, or has stated, that they are watching currency speculation very closely, and if they need to intervene, she's happy to do so. So, but I think the closer we get to 155, that's kind of where intervention might start picking up, or might start kicking in. Let me rather put it that way. Might start kicking in. Even if you look at previous intervention levels, they're quite fond of round numbers. So I would keep a very, very close eye on 155. Rocast, I'm just still waiting for you to tell me which one of those indicators is the one that I should be testing to provide feedback on. Okay. It will be number 2. Okay, cool. So let me just go back here again. MSB dash OB. And you said it's the one by... Okay, so it's this one here. Okay. It gives a crazy amount of order blocks, though. I'm actually just looking here. All of a sudden, my screen just became really full. So I'll definitely have to go play around with the settings as well. Factor breakdown, okay. Yeah, I see it also used the zigzag indicator. That's actually a really fun indicator to use, the zigzag indicator. And I know it's a lot of traders either have never even heard of the zigzag indicator, or they've never even used it. I actually have some really great trading strategies as well on just using the zigzag indicator. Like, it's actually, like I said, it's such a fun indicator to use. So I do see it has that in it as well. It has the various order blocks. I see there are some order blocks that you can't take out. Bearish, bullish, and okay, cool. Like I said, it does showcase a lot of order blocks, which Okay, luckily on the lower time frames, it's not as intense. On the higher time frames, it's huge. On the lower time frames, it's actually giving pretty solid levels, or maybe even a bit more of consolidation. Yeah, so I would say, I'll show you. So this is kind of the cluster that you're seeing on like on a 1 hour time frame. But again, as you are dropping down to 30 minutes, it looks like it's kind of keeping those same order block areas. It's just spreading them out a little bit more. But I think anything below 30 minutes, it gives really good levels. Because, I mean, that order block and that order block is spot on point. I mean, that even lines up with mine that I already have drawn in here. So that's pretty spot on. If you go to a 15-minute time frame, again, on a 15-minute, that's a really good order block still. So I'm just kind of thinking about the time frame that you are using. Let's maybe try it on like an index. Yeah, you see even here on the 1 hour, like lining up with all my levels automatically. Like, look at that. There's my order block. There's the one the indicator added. There's my order block. There's the one the indicator added. So, yeah. But okay, now on the 30-minute time frame, now it's starting to cluster a lot. This order block I'm happy with. That order block I'm happy with. This is maybe a little bit unnecessary. But okay, I tell you what. On a 5-minute, this is quite a nice little setup because that's a nice 5-minute order block. That's a nice 5-minute order block. So, I do think the indicator might have some merit to it. I'll just go play around with it a little bit, play around the settings, and then get back to you on that. Okay. I only use it on the 15-minute. Okay, cool. Like I said, for me so far on the S&P, the best time frame that I agree the nicest with at the moment is the 5-minute time frame. But I'll go mess around with it a little bit and see how I can assist. Okay. Any other questions, traders? Wow, this has actually been one of our longest live analysis sessions, and I enjoy the questions. So we're almost at 50 minutes. So any other questions? Otherwise, I'll close up for today. And thank you for joining me. So, while I wait, like I said, I'm going to maybe start doing the close up unless there's a question that pops through. Wait, here's a long one. Do you mind sharing the good trades you took, what you did, and how you held until TP? Also add any losses, what happened. So, Dennis, maybe just watch the recording. I did share some trades that I took last week. I also shared some during the session. So, the moment the session's done, it normally takes about an hour or two for the recording to appear, and then you can always watch that. So, even if you miss the live, just pop in around an hour or so later, and then the recording is normally available. Okay. As a reminder, based on the discussion that we had today, when having a look at USD ZAR, because obviously that was the currency pair we looked at today, monitor the dollar's behavior on the DXY near that 100 level. Have a look. Does it stabilize or does it break lower? And based on that could actually assist you in getting some really nice trades on USD ZAR as well. On natural gas, have a look. That line in the sand that was drawn at $3.84. Have a look. Does that break for natural gas to push higher to $4? Or are we going to get a buy the dip at around $3.60? Have a look at that as well. And then, well, the other big question is, does the S&P 500's recovery that we are seeing at the moment have legs, or if hesitancy will creep back in? Spoiler alert, regardless of what happens, things are going to get interesting, and things are going to get interesting really quickly. Okay. And with that, I think we are wrapping up today's market brief, brought to you by ATFX Africa, the broker that gives you an edge in today's markets. Now, if you are not trading with ATFX as yet, click on the link in the description or head to the website and we'll go and experience the difference for yourself. I do see I have one last comment here. It says, thank you so much. By the way, you can make some adjustments in the settings for your preference. I did have a look at that. I saw that. I was just wondering about those green and red lines saying MSB. Okay, cool. I'll have a look at that. Okay. Well, traders, I think until next time, stay sharp, stay focused, and trade smart. I will see you all tomorrow.